Do you guys remember like 7 months ago, I made a video about Light of Motirum. This was a game coming from Tencent, the Giga Corporation, technically the biggest game company in the world. And they were putting out a game that looked very, familiar. Very familiar to another franchise that is very well known in the gaming space. It's a little on the nose, just a tad. But this game, Light of Motirum, was supposed to be like a big, dude, it's so ridiculously one-to-one. It's hilarious. They claimed that this was going to be a brand new, breathtaking adventure survival game with base building and crafting. It basically sounded like a really ambitious Horizon online game that has like survival components, which is not the worst idea, honestly, that I've ever heard. It's almost like something that Sony might want to do themselves and might have already spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, but we'll get to that because that's a whole other story, but we'll get there. But what just happened is that a lawsuit has been filed out of California, the federal court, Northern District Court in California, that is alleging copyright infringement on the part of Tencent and their developers making this game that is effectively ripping off the Horizon IP, art style, everything. And they're going pretty scorched earth. I mean, they want to make an example of this, and they are going after Tencent, which is, again, the biggest game company in the world. They have the highest revenue of any game company in the world, and they also have like a minority share in pretty much any game company you can think of, whether it's Ubisoft, who they have a huge stake in, or even smaller companies like EA or Embracer Group, or I mean, you name it, they probably own a chunk of them. And Sony is now going at them, even though they also own shares of Katakoa Corporation, which is the parent company of From Software. They are both shareholders in that company, and now mom and dad are fighting, and we kids are just sitting here watching, hoping that everything works out. It's going to be crazy, and in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what's going down with it, because it is outrageous, some of the stuff that is being alleged. And there's also a couple of things being reported, which, if true, I think make this an open and shut case. I mean, I honestly don't know how on earth they even take this to court. I think they have to settle pretty much immediately if what's being reported is true, because it's so unbelievable. But yeah, buckle up. We'll get to it. This is a crazy one. This whole story is insane. So it almost like, it's so crazy. It makes me wonder if this is like a 4D chess psyop and Tencent is just baiting Sony to sue them so they can get discovery on Sony projects that are upcoming that they can then use to rip off future projects. I don't know. It's so insane that it makes me actually wonder and get like conspiratorial on it. It's wild. So buckle up. We're going to go through it in this video. Forgive me, I'm a little jazzed up on caffeine. So you're going to have to keep up with me. We're going to do it fast. Go crazy. Buckle up. But first, a thank you to our sponsor, Vitcher, and their new Luma line of glasses. Vitcher makes the Luma series of XR glasses, which allow you to view your content anywhere you are on a massive 4K-like display. To put it really simply, using these glasses allows you to have an augmented reality screen in front of you wherever you are that is gigantic. So you can be sitting on a plane and effectively watching a 152-inch diagonal screen at 4K-like quality. It's ridiculous. And it's hard to describe how cool this is, but effectively you simply size the glasses, the nose piece and everything for your face shape, and then you plug it into your device like your phone, or even plug it into a Nintendo Switch 2 or a Steam Deck using the portable dock that allows you to plug in even 2 different pairs of Vitcher glasses into it, and you're able to enjoy your content on a massive display in front of you without having to have that massive display with you. And they have a brand new feature that allows you to experience immersive 3D in any video that you want to watch. You simply pull up the video through their mobile app or their desktop app, and then let their advanced algorithms convert it using the power of AI into 3D video right before your very eyes. For me, this has been amazing on things like long flights or road trips and things when I'm not driving, because you can just sit with perfect posture, looking straight ahead at a massive screen, just like if you're watching a TV or something, but you don't have to have that there. Like, you can be in an airplane seat with a massive display in front of you, not disrupting anybody around you, just enjoying your content the way it was meant to be enjoyed. And the fact that they're comfortable and very lightweight and plug into one of your devices for the actual feed instead of cramming a bunch of extra hardware into the glasses, it means that you can keep them comfortably on your face for extended periods of time without any problem at all. I seriously love these things. They're about as close to a cyberpunk magic device as you could possibly get in 2025. They're absolutely wild. And I would know because I've been using Vitcher glasses for like a year and a half, 2 years since the last generation of glasses that I actually have in this carrying case as well. So you know, I'm an actual believer. I've used these things for a long time and I love them. And this new series, the Luma series, is even better. The image is way sharper. They feel lighter weight. They're more comfortable, like across the board. It's just better. It's crazy. Now, like I said, I'm using the Luma Pros, but later this year, they're going to be releasing the Luma Essential version and the Luma Ultra glasses. So whichever version you're looking for, they have it for you. And seriously, like, these things are a game changer. Once you use them on a flight, your life will never be the same. I'm just being real with you. It's gonna spoil you so bad. They're fantastic. I love my Vitcher glasses. I'm glad to have another addition to the family, and I can't recommend them enough. So check them out at the link in the description box below or in the pinned comment, and check out the Luma glasses today. Also, the boxes and the packaging are crazy cool. How cool is that? When have you seen a box do that? That's crazy. That's the level of attention to detail we're talking. Even their boxes are cool, dude. It's crazy. Again, links below. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first thing to understand is that the lawsuit has been filed after 7 months. 7 months ago, they did the initial reveal where they showed off a lot of this gameplay, and it seemed really similar. And they've taken their time in getting the lawsuit ready, but now they have officially filed it. Technically, I believe on Friday they filed it, but it was only just reported by Reuters, who found the filing in the publicly available database where you can find all of these like filings for lawsuits and stuff. And in that article that they posted, they just simply said Sony sues Tencent for allegedly ripping off Horizon video games. Really simply, Sony said in the lawsuit filed on Friday that Tencent's upcoming Light of Motirum game is a slavish clone of its games that copies several distinct Horizon elements and threatens to confuse buyers. They specifically claim in the lawsuit that they have data that suggests that many users and individuals out there think that Light of Motirum is the next Horizon game, that it's like a spin-off project, and will therefore buy it expecting it to be a Horizon game when it's just not that. And that is a problem, not just because it potentially damages the Horizon brand that, of course, Sony is very interested in preserving, but also it's a problem because that's money that Sony is no longer getting, and that really upsets them. So they're filing this lawsuit basically claiming that Tencent knew what they were doing and that it is very damaging to them, and therefore immediate reconciliation, immediate amends need to be paid. Specifically, Sony is seeking statutory damages, which would be roughly $150,000 per infringed work. So that could be Horizon Forbidden West, Horizon Zero Dawn. It could also be the VR game that they made. They could also claim the Lego Horizon game. Even though it flopped, you could claim that it's infringing on that. So you could claim that. They could also find any sort of additional like comic books or other spin-off things they've done and claim that. But let's be honest, this is Tencent we're talking about, okay? Like a few million bucks here or there doesn't worry them. They'll pay that and walk away like it's nothing. They make tens of billions of dollars every month. Like, they're fine with paying that, okay? If it allows them to get away with this. So that's not what Tencent's worried about. What they are worried about are injunctions, which I'll get to in a second. So beyond the statutory damages that they could ask for, they are also requesting actual damages or profits from Tencent related to the project, and treble damages for trademark issues, which is also pretty standard in cases like this. And furthermore, punitive damages. In case you don't know, punitive damages are basically what you request from a court if you want to make an example of the company, to be like, hey, the statutory damages are only like $100,000, but we want to prove to the parent company, to Tencent corporate, that this is not okay. After all, if they only go after statutory damages of like 150K per infringement, that doesn't really wake up Tencent executives, like they might not even get notified of the lawsuit if that's all that they're going to have to pay. That is like a rounding error on their balance sheet. So much money flows through that company. But if it's something to the amount of like hundreds of millions of dollars as punitive damages, not just a slap on the wrist, but like actually chopping off the hand, that could actually make Tencent pay attention and would also scare the crap out of any other company thinking of ripping off a Sony game and their art style. So that is something that also would cause Tencent to pay attention to. And it's something that courts have previously awarded in all sorts of different cases. This is a deep cut, but do you remember the stories of the McDonald's coffee burn lawsuit? Basically where this lady, this elderly lady, she filed a lawsuit against McDonald's because she was handed a coffee and it spilled and gave her 3rd-degree burns all over her legs and everything. So she sued McDonald's, claiming that the coffee was unreasonably hot and severely injured her. And she made allegedly millions of dollars off of that. That's what was discussed, because the initial ruling from, or recommendation rather, from the jury was that they should have punitive damages filed against them so that they would not ever do this again. This video is really, really good. It's from the New York Times, from their Retro Report series that they don't do anymore. This is like an 11-year-old video, but it's really, really well done. Watch this.
They unanimously agreed to award Stella $200,000 in compensatory damages. But because she caused the spill, they reduced that to $160,000. Jurors set punitive damages to send the message to McDonald's to turn down the temperature of the coffee.
I remember I could see Judge Scott going like this with his pencil, and I thought, oh, I hope he's counting digits on the verdict form. And he was.
They based the amount on the revenue from 2 days of coffee sales, $2.7 million.
Now that's what everybody thought she was paid. Eventually they actually walked it back, and the amount that was paid was significantly lower because McDonald's like appealed and then they settled, is my understanding. It's a whole thing. But the point is, a court can recommend or even order punitive damages, which are significantly more than what the initial like compensatory or like statutory damage would be to the offending party or to the defendant. Yeah, you didn't think you'd be learning about McDonald's lawsuits in this video, did ya? That's what you get. Obscure knowledge. That's what you get in Luke Stevens videos, I'll tell you what. So that's one aspect of this whole story that I think would freak out Tencent a little bit, or at least get them to pay attention to this lawsuit. But the more potentially damning thing that could happen to them is if they were to receive an injunction. This is basically something where a court can order, in a case like this, Tencent to like not sell the game in US markets. Like you just can't sell it. It's so clearly a ripoff, it's stolen, you can't do it. It's something that would happen like against companies or entities or individuals that are like distributing pirated software or videos and movies and stuff. There's an injunction filed against them and now they can't distribute that, otherwise they go to prison. It's like, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically a court saying, stop it. Do or don't do this. It's like a command, basically. And that is something that could happen against Tencent, okay? There is an outcome where they have an injunction filed against them specifically to not sell the game in the markets that are being discussed here. The only potential hiccup with that is that, as you can see on the cover page of the lawsuit, okay? This is like the actual lawsuit that was just filed on Friday. As you can see from line 21 down to 27, this is the full list of defendants in the case. So they have named Tencent Holdings Limited, they've named Tencent Technology Company, they've named Polaris, they've named Proxima Beta, Tencent Games Level Infinite, Proxima Beta US. They've named all of these companies, but what else do you notice in this text, right? What else do you notice? Tencent Holdings, like the holding company that holds the shares of Tencent, that therefore holds the shares of the corporation that is also owned by the corporation. It's complicated, but like the holding company for Tencent, the Giga multinational corporation, they are a Cayman Islands corporation, because of course they are, for tax advantages. Tencent Technology, Shanghai company, is also like a Chinese-based company, of course, as you would expect. Polaris, a Chinese company. Tencent America LLC, which is a Delaware limited liability company, which, if you don't know, a lot of companies are based out of Delaware. Specifically, if a corporation is formed, they form them in Delaware, specifically because of the case law. If you're going to have a lawsuit filed against you, a lot of Delaware-specific court cases will be referenced, and Delaware law tends to be very favorable to corporations. So whether you are looking at like a massive company like Facebook, or I guess now Meta, or even Apple and places like that, those companies are almost always formed in Delaware. The exception now is a lot of them are moving their incorporation to Texas, because a lot of new court cases are very favorable in Texas. But that's, again, a whole other topic. That's a whole other thing. But as you can see, multiple entities named in this lawsuit are not American companies. Level Infinite, a Singapore corporation. Like, they're naming US entities that are tied to the parent corporation that's not based in the US, but the primary company is not a US company. And this brings into mind a question, which is, can Tencent just say, screw you? Like, if they get an injunction filed against them in a US court of law, which basically says you cannot sell Light of Motirum in US markets, if they receive that injunction, do they say okay and just not sell Light of Motirum in US markets, but then they just sell it in China? Like, okay, we won't sell it in Japan and US. Like, okay, but Europe, yeah, we'll go there. And China, we'll sell it there. Even if they just sell it in China, that's still a country with 1 billion people. I mean, they'll be fine. They'll find a market for it. Can they just say screw you and do that? Technically, yeah, they can. The potential problem with doing that specifically, though, is that if they were to say screw you and just go sell it elsewhere and like not play ball with what's basically being asked of the US court, or the US court is asking of them rather, then there could be a further injunction theoretically filed where the US court then instills damages or punitive damages and things against Tencent, the company in America, but referring to other entities owned by Tencent China, or the holding company based in the Cayman Islands. Effectively, they could say, okay, you're not doing what we effectively are asking you to do. You're trying to get fancy and cute with it. So we're going to instill damages or require you to pay a penalty, or we're going to ban the sale of games that you have a direct involvement in, which would be pretty much everything because they own a little bit of pretty much everything. And if that were to be the case, it could get really, really messy really, really quickly. Now, there is another option in addition to that, because honestly, the odds of an injunction like that being filed that is that broad sweeping is incredibly, incredibly low. There's been other cases, for example, of like Apple trying to get really fancy and cute in lawsuits, specifically with regards to like monopolization and unfair business practices. And in some of those lawsuits, you know, they've gotten a major slap on the wrist, but it's incredibly rare for them to go after the entire corporation for behaviors in other countries. It's just not typically something you see. So the safest bet for Sony would be to file a lawsuit against Tencent in China as well, which is technically possible, but as far as I can find at this moment, they have not done so yet. This actually happened back in 2018, where PUBG Corp, the developers of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG, they sued NetEase for infringing on their copyrights. As you can see, there's like all of these side-by-side comparisons they did where they were showing that it was pretty clear what they were ripping off and how this was working. I mean, everybody knew it was basically PUBG, but not. Like, everybody knew what was happening here. And it was pretty egregious, pretty on the nose. And so they filed the lawsuit, both in the US and in China, where NetEase is based as well. And as a result of that, they eventually settled down and they settled everything, as you can see reported here again in this article from MacArthur Law Firm. According to a recent court order, PUBG and NetEase have now settled the entire litigation and are in the process of dismissing the lawsuit. While we may never know the full details of the confidential settlement, we should keep a close eye on both KO and ROS in the coming months to see if any substantive changes are made to the games to differentiate themselves from PUBG, which did eventually happen. So that lawsuit worked for the PUBG guys. They got a fat stack of cash, no doubt, but it is something to just be aware of. You know, it's something to keep in mind that if they filed a lawsuit in China, it could actually wake up Tencent to settle and deal with this. Now, what would a settlement actually look like? Well, that's where it's tricky, because I don't think Sony just wants a big stack of cash. I think they want this thing to be canned and totally shut down. The last bullet point of things they're asking the court for in this lawsuit is a preliminary/permanent injunction to halt the production, marketing, beta testing, sale, or distribution of Light of Motirum or any derivatives thereof. Basically, they want this thing dead. Like, they want it to no longer be alive. They want it to go bye-bye, okay? And so Maybe a settlement could come about where they just shut it down and move on, and Sony just gets it shut down, and Tencent just eats all of the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars they've spent on this game so far. But I don't know if that's super likely. Frankly, I don't know if that's super likely. I just can't imagine them rolling over and taking this. But the amount of changes that would be necessary to differentiate this from Horizon would be crazy. Light of Motirum is a slavish clone of the Horizon franchise, and they've copied elements such as the post-apocalyptic setting with robot animals that resemble dinosaurs even in certain cases, a red-haired female protagonist, which is reminiscent of their title character, Aloy, an art style that is very, very similar, if not identical, to Horizon, tribal societies depicted with similar headdresses and clothing, music similarities even down to the synths and instruments used, and narrative devices such as scanning tools for environmental interactions, in addition to other smaller details such as the font being almost identical to the font used in the Horizon games. And it goes on and on and on. This, as I've described it thus far, is all alleged. They could claim maybe that they just had parallel thinking, or they just didn't realize how similar it was to Horizon until it was too late. I personally don't think that goes over super well. Like, I can't imagine that is like a compelling case in a court of law, especially because like some of these tidbits are like so on the nose. It's freaking hilarious. Like, in Horizon, they have all of these red reeds and like the long grasses in the distance. That's used as like tall foliage cover for Aloy to be able to stealth while hunting monsters or going through main story quests and stuff. But do you know why the top of it is red? Like, they specifically have the high grass for you to stealth in as red topped. It's not just a visual choice. This was actually pointed out to me by a viewer, funnily enough, in the last video I made on this whole scandal, and I thought it was really interesting, so I figured I'd share it with you. Langlest shared this, where he said, "It's funny that they kept the red reeds. They only made sense as a hiding spots in Zero Dawn because Aloy has red hair." Which is actually the case. The reason that the top of the grass is red is because of the red hair. In Light of Motirum, they just have it in the trailer with like the long red grass. They just say it's a coincidence, I guess, and act like it's just a matter of happenstance that they arrived and are exactly identical to the grass in Horizon. I mean, this is like exactly the same layout even as they use in Horizon. Like, it's so hilariously identical. It's ridiculous. This character doesn't even have red hair in this shot, but you see the red grasses and stuff. Like, what are we doing, guys? It's hilarious, dude. It's unreal. But my point is, I think it's unlikely that a court would believe them if they said it's just a coincidence. I mean, as you can see here in this side by side, or I guess top to bottom by Shinobi, this is pretty damn similar. I mean, you see the red-haired protagonist, the font's similar, the art style's very similar, robo dinosaurs with big white plates of armor and stuff. It's pretty on the nose. But what's even more damning, if true, which I think if true is just like open and close case, there's no point in even talking about this anymore. Shinobi points out that GameSpot is reporting that per the lawsuit filings that they have access to, Tencent tried to license the Horizon IP, but Sony later declined. Okay, time out real quick. Since I finished filming the video, somebody actually got a copy of the lawsuit and uploaded the full thing to Scribd so we can read it and investigate it manually. And there's all sorts of good info in here. We don't have to just rely on secondary reporting and stuff that was taken from it. So all of these links will be in a bibliography in the description box below for you to read, so you can check all of this yourself. But as you can see here, they do a lot of these side-by-side comparisons I've already been bringing up. They do all sorts of things like mentioning Steam pages. Even the Light of Motirum's own Steam page made similar observations reacting to the game's announcement. This is just sad. No way you think it's okay to copy Horizon this much. Not only does it look like a copy of the Horizon games, but you had the cheek to copy the cover art as well. Like, they're calling out all of this, referring to all of it. They refer to articles posted by people. They refer to all sorts of stuff like that. Down here, you'll see there are some specific comparisons they bring up and side-by-sides to some of the artwork and stuff. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, here is a really good example of it, where they pull this up and they just went through the artwork and tried to find the one-to-one comparisons to show how similar it is. And I mean, some of these are pretty hilarious, but they are going through all of it. It copies the expression of massive machine-like remnants of the old world looming over crimson meadows from dusk in the horizon fifth row table above, and they kind of spell it out. They show this with the promotional material, with the grasses, with the red tops on it. Visual expression with no narrative significance whatsoever. Absolutely. Copied the Horizon franchise's tribal characters and those elements. As you can see here, references to that and all of those comparisons that have been brought. A young red-haired woman depicted wearing tribal apparel, wielding a bow and a spear, often wearing face paint. Indeed. Some of these further comparisons that they've brought up. This one again, like, it's going to be real hard to defend this. It's going to be really, really hard, dude. Even some of these, like, oh my God. It's going to be so freaking funny to watch this play out, dude. I cannot wait. They do the comparison of the different machines and everything. Cause you got to remember, when they're filing these lawsuits, they have to try to explain it to a judge who's like 80 years old and has never played a video game. So he has no idea what Horizon is. He has no idea any of this. You have to spell it out pretty clearly and walk them through it in order for them to understand it. Yeah, dude. Jesus. It's going to be really interesting. They are referring specifically to, like, as you can see, YouTube videos, thegamer.com articles, psu.com, like there's Kotaku articles listed in here. All of this is referenced, and this is why it takes like 7 months to break this down. False designation of origin, all defendants, second claim for relief. As you can see, they break this down. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. Specific, a judgment against defendants determining and adjudicating or judging that they have willfully infringed and are infringing federally registered copyrights in the Horizon franchise under 17 USC subsection 106. Dude, they're going balls to the walls, and it's been filed demanding a jury trial on all issues so triable. I can read. Filed by Annette Hurst of Oric, Harrington, and Sutcliffe Limited Liability Partnership. Ooh, baby. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Okay, I'll let the rest of the video play out, but I just wanted to point out that the lawsuit is now uploaded onto a freely accessible place. You can check it out yourself if you are so inclined or interested. It is very interesting, and there's a lot of funny little tidbits in here that you can also find, where at some point they're trying to make the argument and they just start linking to all sorts of like articles, like this one from Game Rant. New Tencent game accused of copying Guerrilla's Horizon series, and they just link it directly. Game Rant's article as well. Like, they just start linking articles to be like, see, everybody agrees with us. It's pretty baller. So check it out. It's crazy. Links below. I'll finish the video. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's the sound of a transition. Blah, blah, blah. What this basically suggests is that they developed Light of Motirum as a Horizon game, intending to take it to Sony and basically say, hey, we have a Horizon game ready. You just have to give us the green light. We'll put the Horizon sticker on it. You get paid royalties on it. You don't have to do a damn thing. But we already made it. It's Horizon. Just give us your blessing to use the Horizon branding and IP, and we'll be ready to go. You'll have a Horizon online live service survival game. What more could you ask for? And then Sony turned them down. And at some point they said, oh, shoot, and didn't know what to do. And so they had a choice where they could redo pretty much everything in the game, because the game was built as a Horizon game, and they could just try to scrape it together into something that is more unique and individualistic, but that would be incredibly expensive because, again, everything in the game was made to be Horizon. And so they just were like, screw it. What's the worst that could happen? They sue us. And this is where we're at. Now, that is an allegation. We don't know for a fact that that's what happened. But if that's true, this is something where, I mean, it's an open and closed case, guys. I mean, if it's true, and if Sony has a record of them actually getting like an appointment scheduled with Tencent leadership, and they get shown all of this and they're requested in the same meeting to license the Horizon IP, like if that's true, this is over and done with. I don't think there is a case to be made in a court of law that it's a coincidence. You literally made it as a Horizon game, if that's true. Which, even if it is in the lawsuit and it's in the text of it, it still has to be demonstrated in a court. So it still is an allegation, just to be very, very clear. But if that's true, that's crazy. I hear you're barking, big dog. Luke, why would they not want the free money? Why would they not want to just say yes to this and have another Horizon game in the works? After all, that kind of seems like what they've been trying to do for the last few years, right? Well, it's because this is like ridiculously similar to something that Sony was already working on in two different ways. It's a little on the nose as well, appropriately for this story. I've talked about this over on my second channel, Luke Stevens Live, which you should definitely sub to if you haven't already. But over there, we talked about some of the leaks and rumors and speculation surrounding the upcoming Guerrilla Games Horizon online Monster Hunter game. Yeah, the next project from Guerrilla Games is not Horizon 3 or Killzone, whatever. It is another Horizon game, but it is an always online multiplayer game where you play in parties of like 5-ish, and it mixes the art styles of Fortnite with Saints Row Reboot with Sea of Thieves, and it will play similarly to Monster Hunter, but with more like community features is what's expected right now. It's a game, it's a thing. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard for a video game. Maybe not my cup of tea, but I'll remain open-minded. It's possible it surprises me, you never know. But that's one thing that they've been working on and reportedly have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, is that project. They've been working on it for like 5-6 years at this point. Guerrilla Games is all hands on deck with it. Like everybody in that studio is working on it, and it's an expensive studio to run. So they expect it to be very expensive when it's all said and done, and they really need it to do well, which Sony has not experienced with a lot of their biggest bets in the live service space, let's just say. So I think it makes sense perhaps why they didn't want another Horizon live service game coming out around the same time that could potentially cannibalize the sales and revenue from this other one, which I can understand, but at the same time you'd think, okay, well, so they don't want multiple Horizon projects cannibalizing each other's revenue, right? That makes sense. Horizon fans might stick to one online game, and that's that. Like, you don't have 5 Fallout 76 projects going on at the same time, 5 different like Fallout online projects. But they're also working on another one. They're also working on another Horizon MMO that has been greenlit and has been in production over at the South Korean developer NC Soft. And it was actually rumored to have been canceled back in January, but it was rumored to be canceled because a South Korean website, MTN, reported that they had acquired information that NCSoft had canceled 3 different projects. Specifically, they said that they were canceling Project Pantera, Project H, and Project J, and people thought Project H was Project Horizon, and so it had been canceled, and Sony was getting their ducks in a row. Finally, like trimming the fat on the live service games. Nope. Turns out, according to the author of the article, Project H is not the Horizon MMO. That is still in production and is still happening. So we're going to get the Light of Motirum Horizon game. We're going to get the Guerrilla Games Horizon Monster Hunter game. And we're going to get this Horizon MMO all in the span of the next year and a half, 2 years. I mean, it's not like anybody already is kind of bored with Horizon, right? It's not like anybody already has franchise fatigue from that and are like, Sony, please do something else. But here we are. I guess they're going all in with it, even more so than we thought they already were, which was a lot. I mean, the one thing Herman Hulst loves more than Concord is Horizon, and they are going all in with it. No joke, as of right now, there are an estimated $600-700 million worth of Horizon projects in the works. If you count the TV show and movie projects that were worked on and abandoned and then reworked on, then abandoned again. If you count everything, they might be in for $1 billion as far as investments are concerned in the Horizon franchise. It's ridiculous, but that's because they think that it is worth it. They did say as part of this lawsuit that they have sold 38 million copies of Horizon across the franchise, which is really, really impressive. I mean, that's a lot of copies. That includes, as far as I understand it, the VR game, the Lego game, which flopped pretty catastrophically. If you're asking Luke, what Lego Horizon game? Exactly. They also did the, of course, Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn. And they're saying across all of that, they sold 38 million copies, which is nothing to scoff at. I think a lot of that is front loaded with Horizon Zero Dawn, but still, those are really strong numbers. And I don't think Horizon's bad. I just don't think it's like a masterpiece. I don't think it's as good as they act like it is. I don't think it's earned its place next to like God of War, for example. You know, I feel like you gotta work your way up and really earn your place next to Kratos before I consider you in the same realm. And when you try to act like you're already there, it's really cringe to me. It's really cringe to me. And I feel like that's what's happening here. You know, you're not Nathan Drake, you're Aloy, princess of the Nine Realms. I get it, but like, can we chill for a second? Can we chill? Like, I get it. You're stunning, brave, and beautiful. I get it. I agree. But like, calm down. But going back to Light of Motirum, I think that this is pretty much why Sony turned it down, is because it was so clearly Horizon. They thought turning it down would likely mean that it's just canceled or reworked enough that it wouldn't feel like a Horizon game. They didn't expect them to just keep doing it, and they just kept doing it. And so now it's basically a Horizon game without the Horizon name on it, because I think it was probably developed as a Horizon game. And now it's going to be competing against Horizon's Monster Hunter game and eventually the MMO game as well. And I think Sony just can't handle that. They're already worried enough. Like, if the Horizon Monster Hunter game launches by itself, that already is pretty risky. If it launches next to another game like this, which, just being honest, in this shot right here, this looks much closer to what I think people expect from a Horizon Online game. The leaked images and artwork, which I won't share here, but you can Google it if you want to, if you dare, because there were a number of leaks a couple of years ago of some of the early work in progress, like artwork, and then also assets and stuff for the project. And I'll just say, if you liked the art style and the graphics of the original Horizon games, you will probably find, and this sounds mean, but you'll probably find the online game repulsive. Assuming they haven't changed it in response to the overwhelmingly negative reception to the leaks, which I don't even know if they could change it, but the leaks were so bad in terms of art style that I think this could actually be viewed as like the definitive Horizon game in comparison. Because the one that Guerrilla was working on and the one that leaked, like I said, looks like Sea of Thieves mixed with like Fortnite. It just does not at all look like Horizon, except maybe the monsters are roughly similar in terms of overall look, but it plays and appears like a mobile game. I mean, it just does not look right for Horizon. And that could also be a component of this, is that they feel like this might be viewed as more of a definitive Horizon game than the Horizon game, which would be really funny. But I think that's a component of it too. I really do. I think that they're worried that this might actually legitimately cannibalize some of the sales, because people hear Horizon multiplayer game or Horizon sequel or something, and they think of this. They don't realize that it's actually that Fortnite Sea of Thieves clone in the corner. You know, I think that's a part of it. I think that's really a part of it. But anyway, I don't know where this is going. I don't know where the lawsuit ends up. They may just agree to pull it from sale and it just disappears. They may decide that it's just too expensive and they can't justify that, and they try to settle and fix it. Like, they may just try to drag this out in the courts until after they've launched it and try to make some money off of it. Who knows? Who knows? But it's going to be interesting to watch, without a doubt. Just like the Nintendo lawsuit against the Palworld devs is interesting. It's going to be really fascinating to see how the cookie crumbles on this and where it ends up. And I can't wait to see all of that. I'm thoroughly intrigued. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making my dreams a reality every single day. This is crazy. I get to do this for a living. It's very humbling. So never ever think I take it for granted. I truly don't. And I will say, I cannot wait to get back into the swing of things after the summer months, because July is so dry in terms of game topics and releases and stuff that it's really, really easy to just completely mentally check out. But you know, August, Gamescom hits and lawsuits like this start to hit regularly, and I'm here for it. So buckle up. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming. Mafia launches like next week. It's going to be a good time. So thank you for sticking with me. Again, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my second channel, Luke Stevens Live, and my third channel, Luke Stevens Clips, for smaller stuff that's a little bit more casual a vibe. Check them all out. Links in the link tree below. And until next time, my friends, much love, hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.